The Golden State Warriors third quarter mojo is back. And as we revealed last year, there's a direct correlation between the Warriors dominating third quarters and the Warriors winning championships. So far, so damn good. Kylen Mills and I are going to break down a Friday Night Live celebratory edition of Locked On Warriors next.
You are Locked On Warriors, your daily Golden State Warriors podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Thank you for making Locked On Warriors your first listen every day. We're free and available wherever you get podcasts and on YouTube. We're part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Today's episode is brought to you by Dave. Download Dave today at dave.com/lockedonnba. You can get up to $500 in 5 minutes or less. No credit check. No late fees. Kylen Mills has no late fees either. You can follow her on all social media platforms at her name, Kylen Mills. You can follow me on Threads. It's blowing up there, folks. At Dog Wild. You can follow me there. Kylen, great to see you. Happy Friday night. The Warriors pull off their first win of the season. Stephen Curry in the postgame show mentioned it took the team 14 games to get their first road win of the season last year. We all know how much they struggled. This time it happens in game 2, their first attempt. Solid game. If you love the Warriors, you're feeling good about it. Great to see, Kylen, your immediate reaction to the Warriors winning 122-114.
Hey, Sai, doing well and definitely pumped. I mean, it's a positive sign. The Warriors already have that first road win out of the way. Hopefully no repeats of last year in any capacity. Hello to Neela. I don't know if I'm saying that right. Is it Neela? But shout out to all of you who are joining us. Appreciate you guys coming and hanging out with us every day, every week. The traveling, I don't know if I'm saying
Urquidez?
Yeah, Urquidez. Is that right? Okay.
Where's Neela? I can't find this person. I'm sorry. But go ahead. Sorry. I didn't mean to interrupt you.
Anyways, they just asked for a shout out for her daughter.
Okay, gotcha.
His or her daughter. So I'm thinking it's, this is a positive start to the season. The Warriors come out, they win a road game against a very good Sacramento team, one of the best offensive teams in the NBA a season ago. They still have the same kind of punch. They still have Sabonis. They still have De'Aaron Fox, who's one of my favorite players to watch. And I thought the Warriors held up well. First of all, you got to talk about the third quarter explosion. They continue to play well after the halftime break, which is something the Warriors did 2 seasons ago and throughout their championship run, but it was totally lacking last season. Mm-hmm. So far, so good. The energy has been high. They've made the right adjustments. They're playing well. Things are clicking in the third quarter. So that's a big positive. 2 big takeaways for me is Moses Moody and Jonathan Kuminga. Big contributors. I love both of what they've been doing and the minutes they've been getting. I think they both have been playing well. And I thought that Moses Moody stepped up. I was glad to see him get more minutes. He had 10 points, but he had a team best plus 11 in the plus minus category, which doesn't tell the whole story, but his defense I thought was really strong. And I think he's made major strides in that regard. He had 3 steals, didn't he again? I think he's had 3 steals in both games this season, Moses Moody. So to me, that's a huge, huge asset. Steve Kerr loves guys who can play defense. The Warriors have hung their hats on that for the last several years. So if Moses Moody can keep playing defense like that, I want to see more of him. Jonathan Kuminga, outstanding. I still hate the 3-guard lineup, but hey, they won the game tonight, so not going to complain.
Exactly. They won, and that's the big – look, they're going to get Draymond Green back soon too, which is really crazy. This team looks good without him so far. And you mentioned Kuminga and Moody. When you look at the plus minus in this game, the top 3 for the Warriors, number 1, Moses Moody. He was a plus 11. Number 2, Stephen Curry. We're obviously going to talk about him. He had a hell of a game tonight. And then number 3, Jonathan Kuminga. Those are your 3 leaders for plus minus. That's huge. That third quarter was insane. And when we talk about the third quarter mojo being back, it's not just this game. Against the Suns, they had a huge third. Go ahead. Sorry. Were you gonna say something?
I didn't say anything. No, I was just nodding my head with you.
But yeah, I was gonna say the third quarter. Oh my god! And I just deleted my box score. But I think they outscored the Suns in the third quarter 40-19. I believe that's correct, but I just deleted my whole sheet here. The point is third quarters have been amazing, and tonight is no exception. Honestly, Kylen, I feel like this was a tale of two games. In the first half, there was a while there. I think the Warriors were victims of a big run by the Kings. They won on a 14-0 run in the second quarter that was capped with JaVale McGee alley-oop. It wasn't looking great at that point. But then slowly and surely, they come back, and they actually took the lead going into the half. I think it was 60-57. Did this surprise you based off the first half? Like, I was not feeling good. I honestly thought it was a miracle that the Warriors are keeping this game close early on before they suddenly just took off in the third. Were you surprised at the Warriors pulling away like this, or no? What were you thinking?
Based on the way they played in game one against the Suns, I wasn't surprised because the Warriors have been historically so good in third quarters. But I will say I was happy about the turnaround from the first half. And also even in the first quarter, I don't think the Kings went on a big run at any point in the first quarter, but the Warriors were losing by 5, I think, at the end of the first. I was very weary as soon as I saw the starting lineup with the 3 players we talked about not wanting to play together, Chris Paul, Steph Curry, and Klay Thompson. So I saw that and I was just like, oh, all right. Please, Draymond Green, come back. And then Andrew Wiggins, who played horrible against the Suns, was in the starting lineup. So I wasn't feeling great coming out, right away in this game. I thought the Warriors didn't look great in the first quarter. You mentioned the second as well. Kings able to go on a run. So I don't know that I was surprised. I was happy to see it. I think the Warriors have got to continue whatever they've got going right now that's been allowing them to ignite and get so hot in the third quarter. But this is something that's worked for them. Like last year to me was an anomaly. So hopefully it's something the Dubs can continue. But man, I don't know. I hate the starting lineup. That's all I have to say.
Well, they didn't start off great. I mean, so I'm with you. But again, when Draymond comes back, hopefully this will be resolved soon. I want to read the third quarter stats real fast because again, the Warriors just lit it up tonight. That third quarter was the difference. And in that third quarter, look, we saw Klay Thompson playing some good basketball. He almost blew it for the Warriors at the end there with like 3 straight turnovers and some silly shots. Same with Wiggins, but brutal. It was, that was sketchy, but they thankfully held on. Even Chris Paul was making some questionable decisions at the end there. But part of it could have just been their guard was down. When a team is playing catch up like that, De'Aaron Fox, when he played like he had nothing to lose. And so when you're playing like that, you can go on these crazy runs sometimes. But that third quarter, again, Klay Thompson scored 10 points. He was a +8. He was perfect 2 for 2 from the 3-point line, 4 for 5 from the field. Stephen Curry. Again, we're going to get into his night in just a moment, but just that third quarter, he led all scorers with 16 points. He was
nasty.
And he had the 4-point play was in the third quarter too, correct? I think
so. Yeah.
Yeah, it was nasty. It was nasty is a great word for it. He was 6 for 7 from the field in that third quarter, 3 for 3 again from beyond the arc. And then Moody and Kuminga really shined in that third quarter. Kuminga was a +12. He had 5 points, 3 rebounds. I thought he was really aggressive as a rebounder. Would you agree with that? Because that's been one of the things you and I both have been touching on regarding Kuminga in year 3. I agree. Last year I was trying to I felt the criticism was a little overboard with Kuminga as a rebounder. But in year 3 and with a bigger role, I totally accept that he needs to be a big rebounder. And I feel like he's starting to step up in that regard. There were some boards he grabbed tonight that were aggressive. What are your thoughts? Did you notice that as well in terms of Kuminga?
Yeah, I thought that Kuminga looked aggressive. I still would like to see that rebounding number, especially when he plays 26 minutes at 7. I think he finished with 5 tonight.
Yeah.
So there were moments where I thought it looked really good. He was aggressive and he was crashing hard, but I still think he's got to try to get that number up. Yeah. I will say I also thought that he was aggressive going to the basket. He had like a nice finish inside. I remember at one point in the third quarter or the fourth. And I like what I've seen from Jonathan Kuminga. I think that he just looks confident. He's playing aggressive on both ends, not just defensively, not just on the glass, but I think he, seems to be getting into more of a rhythm offensively, which is something he was still trying to work out or at least develop consistency in last year. I think so far so good. It's still early, but Jonathan Kuminga looks like he's made the strides the Warriors needed him to make in the offseason. And then Moses Moody, to me, looks like a different player than he started out last season. I mean, I really think the confidence piece was the biggest issue when he was not playing, because he just looks so much better, so much more confident, reading the game better, and his defense is so much better. Like, I can fully admit, even though I was a Moody supporter last season, that there were times where he was like traffic cone-esque last year. And, you know, reaching, fouling, not moving his feet. And I just feel like he also is just so much more aggressive, doing a lot defensively. I think he pulled in a couple rebounds as well. So anyways, I just like coupling in Kuminga and Moody together, because they're two players who I don't think were in the rotation enough last season. And now it does appear to be different. And I think that they're proving their worth so far.
Yeah,
so far. It's early, but so far.
Yeah, understatement of the year, them not being utilized last season. That was egregious, but hey, new year, we're looking forward. And there was one play that Kuminga finished this game with 5 rebounds. Again, he played 26 minutes. He should have had 6, though. He got robbed of a rebound in the first quarter. He leapt up. He grabbed this really tough board. He got fouled on that play. And then they didn't credit him with the rebound, which really sucked. But he rebounded. He was discombobulated early in the game, I thought, offensively, and then he brought his composure back. That third quarter, just to finish up real fast, just because it was really the difference in the game. Kuminga, again, a plus 12 in that quarter, had 5 points, 3 rebounds. Moses Moody was a plus 10 in that third quarter. So Kuminga plus 12, Moody plus 10. Moody had 6 points, 2 boards, was a perfect 2 for 2 from beyond the arc in that third quarter. And then the one final third quarter piece I want to throw out there before we move on from the subject, we saw Trayce Jackson-Davis for the first time. He made his NBA debut. I think it was exclusively in that third quarter, I believe. We saw him for 4 minutes, 41 seconds. And even though the box score is not going to show much, I thought he looked like he belonged. He's a tough dude. He was making life difficult for anyone trying to enter the paint. He didn't make mistakes, right? We didn't see him commit any egregious turnovers. Again, the stat sheet's not going to show you much, but he did have a plus 7 in that third quarter, and there's a reason for that, because again, he was great defensively, and I was just stoked to see him. Any final thoughts on that third quarter before we move on and talk about the rest of the game, including Stephen Curry? Anything else? Are we ready to move on?
You love to see the third quarter. It was amazing.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Hell yeah. The third quarter mojo, to me, and again, we covered this last year. We did a lot of shows just dedicated to the Warriors' third quarter woes, and how in championship seasons they dominate in that third quarter. There is a direct correlation there. So good to see them coming out from the half with aggressiveness, with smart play. And then when we come back in just a moment, we're going to give Mr. Stephen Curry his due, because he had a monster game tonight. Great to see Steph at 35 years of age, still among, if not the best player in the NBA. He's absolutely phenomenal. I can't rave about him enough. Got to give some love to a brand new sponsor, and that is Dave. I look at one time, in case you don't know what it is, I'm going to get into it. At one time or another, we all need a little financial help, and that's why Dave is great. Dave can get you cash when you need a hand between paychecks. If you need to build credit by settling extra cash advances on time. Dave, again, is all about giving you cash when you need it. It's a banking app that's leveling the financial playing field. When you download Dave, you can get up to $500 in 5 minutes or less. There's no credit check. There's no late fees. It's part of Dave's extra cash account. They advance the money you need with no interest, and then you could settle up later. That sounds like a hell of a deal. So download Dave today at dave.com/LockedOnNBA. That's dave.com/LockedOnNBA. You could get up to $500 in 5 minutes or less. No credit check, no late fees. Download the Dave app now, or go to dave.com/LockedOnNBA. For terms and conditions, go to dave.com/legal. Eligibility criteria and instant transfer fees apply. Banking services provided by Evolve, member FDIC. And today's show is also brought to you by Jase Medical. You've heard me talk about them on this show extensively, and it's all about having resources for those moments in life where you desperately need them. Natural disasters can happen. We had an earthquake tonight, Kylen. I don't know if you're aware of that, but Fortunately, it was a small one in the Bay Area, but what if the big one hits? What if there's a fire? What if something else happens where suddenly you're injured and you need a medical kit? The one you buy at the local grocery store or drugstore has some of the essentials you need. They got your Band-Aids, they got your gauze, they might have some disinfectant in there. But what the Jase case gets you that you won't find in a traditional medical kit is 5 life-saving antibiotics for emergency use. All it takes to get a Jase case is to fill out a simple online form. And in some cases, you might have to jump on a quick call with one of their board-certified physicians. You're getting actual advice, and you get to connect with an actual physician, which is another huge perk of the Jase case. Get ongoing care from their physicians on any treatment-related questions, doctor-created, doctor-recommended. So go check out jasemedical.com and enter the code LOCKEDON at checkout for a $20 discount on your order. Use the promo code LOCKEDON at Jase, Jase medical.com.
You are Locked On Warriors, your daily Golden State Warriors podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Making Locked On Warriors your first listen every day. Everydayers, we're back Sunday. The Warriors, I believe, are playing the Rockets. This is going to be an earlier show, so join us for a Sunday Night Live edition. And then, Kylen, you're going to join me because the Warriors are playing back-to-back games. So on Monday, Kylen will be with me for that show. I don't know who's going to join me Sunday yet. We'll find out. But you can follow me on Threads at Dog Wild. You can follow Kylen Mills on all social media platforms at Kylen Mills. Kylen, do you have a box score in front of you? And if yes, if you don't mind, inform me in the audience. How does Stephen Curry do tonight? And if you don't have one, I'll take over. But do you have those numbers in front of you?
I have it up, and I was just during the break looking at my phone. So Stephen Curry, the Stephen Curry, finished with 41 points on 14 of 19 shooting from the floor, 7 of 10 from deep. He grabbed 4 boards, had 4 assists, 2 steals, and his usual couple of turnovers, but also was a plus 10, which was second best plus minus on the team behind Moses Moody, who was a plus 11, which we pointed out earlier in the episode. But Steph Curry put the team on his back. You mentioned it, what he did in the third quarter, even at moments in the fourth quarter, despite the fact the Warriors almost unraveled the last 5 minutes. But he was incredible. Steph doesn't slow down. I thought it was interesting. Something that was mentioned during the TNT broadcast was the fact that Steph said that last year when the season ended, he only took 10 days off before ramping up his off-season workouts because he said getting older, he can't give his body as much full-on rest because it takes him so long to get back into it. He almost just has to constantly stay in shape. I thought that was something interesting mentioned in the broadcast, that Steph only took 10 days off from last season into preparing for this season. Love it. He is a warrior. He is a warrior in both senses of the word. And I think that he looks fantastic to start out the season. Happy to see him healthy. Happy to see him doing so well. And I just think it's fascinating. 10 days off. Steph gets right back into it. He's so dedicated to the team. He has figured out how to take care of his body down to a T. He knows exactly what to do. He knows exactly how to best prepare himself for the season. I think something else that was pointed out is that he said he's very much into strength training. That's something that he is pays much more attention to in the offseason than he did seasons ago. So he has evolved. He is mature. He knows how to prepare for the game. And I think that's a big reason why we're seeing him play so well here early.
Well said. The only thing in there that you said that was wrong, and I'm really disappointed in you, Kylen. I mean, it was such a huge mistake. You said the game was on TNT, it was on ESPN.
Oh, ESPN. Yes, you're right.
I don't know if we can continue this show. I apologize, folks, for the misinformation. It's totally egregious, Kylen. I mean, I don't know, man. That's I don't know.
I'll issue an official apology video on Twitter later tonight once we get off the show. Yes, sorry, the ESPN broadcast.
I don't care. But no, you Stephen Curry. I mean, I caught that as well. That comment he made. And you're right. When you're older, there's quite a few things that change with the human body physically. One of the key things for athletes is the recovery time is longer. So when an older athlete takes, let's say Steph decided to take a month off instead of 10 days, it would have been so much harder for him to get back in shape. The whole process would have been much more painful, which is why Draymond Green, on last night's show, I played the soundbite from Steve Kerr, where Kerr explained why Draymond Green is not playing yet, and it has entirely to do with conditioning. So whereas Stephen Curry is taking damn good care of his body, you have Draymond Green basically just letting loose and being pudgy Dre again. Do you have any thoughts on that? That's just so disappointing to me. Like, you just signed a 4-year, $100 million deal, and you don't come to camp like super prepared. I don't know. Does that disappoint you the way it disappoints me?
Yeah, I think that's fair. I think it is disappointing. To me, though, it doesn't surprise me. Like, Draymond seems to be one who enjoys his vacations in the off season, who enjoys his trips to Mexico. Heck, he's going in the middle of the season, which created some controversy while injured. Instead of being with the team, like sneaking off to go on quick little getaways. So it doesn't shock me. Draymond seems one who's going to enjoy his time off and maybe not necessarily take 10 days like Steph did. But hopefully he's able to get back in it soon. I mean, I don't know how big of a factor the injury was and him, having to work back into conditioning. So, that's also another factor. The ankle is a tough one because you're limited in terms of what you can do conditioning wise outside of biking. So hopefully he can get back into it quickly. But yeah, I don't know. Like, Draymond just strikes me from what we know about him as someone who is going to enjoy his off season. In addition to working out, like, it's not like he's just totally, not dedicated, but he strikes me as one.
Were you laughing at what?
I do think it's important to point out with the age of the Warriors, they all have to be. Bruce Morrow just commented, Draymond be drinking his LeBron tequila.
Yeah.
But I do think that it does need to be pointed out that the Warriors getting older, they do need to be more dedicated, more dialed in the offseason, exactly the way Steph has approached it. They all need to approach it coming up these last couple seasons that they're going to play together in order to prevent injury. Otherwise, it's going to be impossible to keep them all healthy. It's going to be impossible for them all to come in and play well if they're not conditioned. Like you said, when you're older, you don't recover as quickly. And also you're much more susceptible to injury if you come in and start playing an 82-game season and going through the rigors of all the team workouts and practices and your body's not prepared, you're going to get hurt. The Warriors cannot afford to let anyone get hurt this season. There's a very small margin for error. They need the key guys healthy. So to me, that conditioning is crucial.
Totally agree with you. When we come back in just a moment, we're not really going anywhere, but in just a moment, we're going to be talking about two players that had a relatively disappointing preseason and opening night, and that was Andrew Wiggins and Klay Thompson. I felt like they had good bounce back games tonight. Before I do that, by the way, how cool is it that Steve Kerr is going all in on Kuminga? And I can't begin to just explain how awesome that is. I mean, he's being open-minded about Kuminga's minutes. A perfect example was near the end of the game, he took out Kevon Looney. With the Kings making a comeback. I think the lead was down to 5, and he takes out Looney and puts Kuminga in these really crucial moments because he wanted more athleticism, he wanted more offense. And again, we saw the minutes tonight. Kuminga played 26. I don't know how that's going to get affected when Draymond comes back, but I really have to salute Steve Kerr for all the criticism I gave him last year. I want to give him his due when he does smart things. And again, Kuminga played 25 minutes. 59 seconds to be more precise. Moses Moody played 21 minutes and 7 seconds. And those two are the future, if not the present. So I just want to tip my cap to Steve Kerr for that. Anything you want to add to that before we give some love to another sponsor?
No, I agree. I'm excited to see a bigger role for Kuminga, but keep playing Moody. In the opener, I do not think Moody played enough. When he gets minutes, I'm talking 20 plus a night, he is going to contribute and be a key piece. People are in the chat are even saying start Moody. That's getting a little out there, folks. Now you're getting aggressive. But I do think Moses Moody, 20 minutes a night plus off the bench is going to be a recipe for success this season.
Absolutely. Yeah, I'm with you. I mean, you and I have been
20 plus a night. I love to see it.
Yeah, we've been raving about Moses Moody. And you're right. There's some people in the chat saying start him. I love the kid. I absolutely love him. And
a lot of folks all throughout, and we'll talk about it after the break, throughout our show have been saying give Moody more of Klay's minutes.
Yeah.
So I want to.
I mean, look. Last night's show, one of the commenters, I think it was like Steve Wilton, mentioned something which I thought was very astute, which is that if Klay Thompson, I guess his suggestion was that Klay should kind of pass the torch to Moody the way David Lee did to Draymond Green back in 2014. That there's a better player emerging. I don't know if we're at that point yet. I don't see Klay doing that, by the way. But yeah, I mean, Doc Rivers was raving about Moody on the broadcast tonight as well. I'm all in on Moody. I mean, I've been saying we both have been saying that. We both last year were bummed that he was constantly getting these DNPs and was sent to Santa Cruz. Yeah, he's awesome. He's totally awesome. So we'll talk about that and so much more. Got to give some love to PrizePicks, another longtime sponsor of this program, and they are super fun. I missed out by just minutes. I'm putting in my bet tonight. But look, if you live in California, it's legal here. It's awesome. And it's all you got to do is download the app. There's a lot of perks when it comes to PrizePicks. It's really simple to play. You can literally make your picks, submit your entry in 60 seconds. And it's not just how fast you can make your picks. It's also the quick withdrawals. You can even use Apple Pay for the cashier. It's easy gameplay. There's an enormous selection of players and stat types. And it's all about either picking a player and deciding if they're going to score more or less than, or grab more rebounds or less than a certain amount that they set, right? And, the players, that's it. And it's a minimum of 2 players, maximum of 6. You can win up to 25 times your money. So if you do a 6-player bet and you win that and you put a huge bet down, you might be able to retire, folks. I'm not. That's not hyperbolic. I'm being serious. Go to PrizePicks.com/LockedOnNBA and use the code LockedOnNBA for a first deposit match of up to $100. That means whatever amount you put in to start your account, up to $100, they'll match it. So you're going to play with double what you put in. Again, go to PrizePicks.com/LockedOnNBA and use the code LockedOnNBA for a first deposit match of up to $100. Go have fun and go thank me later.
You are Locked On Warriors, your daily Golden State Warriors podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Right, one final segment of Locked On Warriors. You can follow Kylen Mills on all social media platforms at Kylen Mills. You can follow me over on Threads at Dog Wild. Super easy. Let's read the stats real fast. Or actually, do you have them in front of you again? Do you want to? Do you mind telling everyone how Andrew Wiggins and Klay Thompson did, or do you want me to handle that?
Let's talk. Yep, I've got it. Let's talk about. So Wiggs played 27 minutes, finished with 11 points, went 5 of 13 from the floor, didn't make a 3, 0 for 3 from beyond the arc, but he did pull in 5 boards, chipped in 3 assists, and had 2 blocks. I thought it was a solid performance. I thought it was a better performance from Andrew Wiggins. And then on to Klay Thompson's stats. Klay finished with, and a big reason why his stats ended up being this high was a third quarter performance. He did not look great in the first half, but he finished with 18 points on 7 of 12 shooting, 2 of 4 from deep, pulled in 3 rebounds, had 4 assists, 1 steal, did have 3 turnovers and 4 fouls, plus 4. So that's a look at the numbers for Klay and Wiggs. I thought both played considerably better. I don't think it was either their best performances, but I think it was good. And I thought Andrew Wiggins, despite the fact that he had some shooting struggles, he looked more aggressive. He played better defensively. He did chip in at least some of, the other stats, 5 rebounds, 3 assists, 2 blocks. Like I said, I thought he looked better defensively than he did last game. So that was a little bit of a relief, right? Like that first game was so odd from Andrew Wiggins.
It was.
Shooting not quite there, but I think a lot of the other aspects of his game were back to where he usually was. And then Klay Thompson, much better. The third quarter, though, to me was really the key for Klay. What did you think?
100% agree. The third quarter was the key for a lot of players, but Klay finally showed a semblance of his old self. By the way, those Wiggins missed threes, they reminded me of Minnesota Wiggins. Like those misses were clanks. Like Wiggins, we haven't seen this in a while. At least I haven't seen it in a while. But when Andrew Wiggins used to miss a shot, you could hear the clang off the rim from miles away. It's one of the most ugliest forced shots you'll ever see. And for some reason, he cleaned that up here with the Warriors. For me personally, from my observation skills, I'm seeing a little more flick of the wrist, a little more touch with the shot. But starting off the season, he's reverted. I don't know what's going on. But that three it's like he's throwing it at the rim almost like it's a damn baseball. But yeah, Klay, he looked a million times better tonight. I mean, look, the one really good thing about Klay, he's been a target of criticism lately, and to a certain degree, I think rightfully so. His offense still isn't quite there yet. But he was, I believe, a +9 in the game against the Suns. Tonight, he was a +4. Again, had 18 points. He was 7 for 12 from the field, as you mentioned. The fact he shot 50% from three was huge. I wish he would get to the line a little more at this stage of his career. Only had 2 free throw attempts, but again, his defense was good enough. His offense was good enough. I don't see an all-star game, anytime soon. I don't see a max deal anytime soon. I don't know if this is what we're going to see from Klay this year. I have no idea how those contract negotiations are going to go, but look, they won, and he was a big part of that. And obviously, there's a lot of nostalgia with this guy just because of the history. There's a lot of sentimentality with Klay, so it was good to see him succeed tonight. Would you agree? Like, are there any negatives you saw in this game tonight?
No, I thought it was good. I thought it was solid. Like I said, both those guys I thought played well. Not great, but they played well. Can I bring up one last point, though, before we wrap up this show?
Yeah.
What was up with the Moody flop call? What did everyone think in the chat of the flop call? Because I did not think that was the right call. Was it McGee who was guarding him again? Who was it?
It was...
But either way, they were in his landing space. It was not, he did not jump into them. He literally came straight down and there was contact on the leg. It was McGee. That was such a bad call. I don't know why that stood out to me, but I was
because it was awful. It was
this rule. It's just whatever, fine. But that was a horrible call and use of it, in my opinion.
No, you're absolutely right. I have that in my notes as well too. I wrote it down simply as bull feces flopping call on Moody. Yeah, I've never, for that to be the first flopping call that we've seen. I don't know if anyone else out there have seen other flopping calls in other games. That's the first time I've seen that the whistles blow, the refs blow the whistle on a flop call, and that should not have been it. No, that was absolutely egregious.
No, there was contact, and he was coming down in his own. I was just like, "What? This is the flopping rule?" I thought it was terrible. Anyway.
It was absolutely awful. What did you think about Gary Payne II? By the way, his defense. Look, he looks healthy again, right? And that's a great sign for this Warriors team. His defense was fine in the Suns game. It was his offense that was an issue. He was 0 for 5. And then it looked like he was continuing his slump tonight. He missed, I believe, his first 2 free 3-point attempts from the corner. That's a sweet spot, right? So when we saw those first 2 misses, at least I was thinking, oh boy, is he officially? Does he have the yips now? Does he have some sort of Chuck Knobloch mental thing going on with his corner 3? Because that's a staple of his. Thank goodness we saw him finally hit that 3rd attempt. So the slump is over. Gary Payne II, again, you don't rely on him for points. That's not what he's there for. His defense is exemplary. Any thoughts on Gary Payne II, who I think is going to be a key for this team when it comes to their championship run?
Definitely. I'm not too concerned about his offense. He's a defensive specialist. There definitely have been times in the past where he's had some slumps. I agree with you, though. That corner 3 has always been his go-to, or at least, like you said, his sweet spot. So good to see him make one. I'm not concerned about GP2. He's healthy. He's brought the energy. He's still a great on-ball defender. That's all the Warriors need right now. They have plenty of offense. And so, yeah, I mean, it's been great to see him back out there, but I don't think there have been any major concerns for me from GP2. No major surprises either. He is who he is, and we love him.
Absolutely. And look, the bottom line is this. We've seen the Warriors. It's a small sample size, 2 games. They're 1-1. They played a Suns team that is damn good, and they almost won that game. They go into Sacramento tonight. They were 3-point underdogs. They win the game. If it wasn't for that late 4th quarter where the Kings made that run, you could have called this game a blowout. And they're doing this without Draymond Green. They're doing this with a lot of players that are very young. And with a Chris Paul who's 38, and we weren't certain what we were going to expect from him. 2 games in, I'm feeling damn good. Damn good. How are you feeling, Kylen? I know I'm the fan here of the two of us. I actually like this team. But how are you? Yeah, thumbs up. There you go. Thumbs
I
up.
like
Absolutely.
this team, okay? I didn't grow up in the Bay Area, but I like this team. Now, listen, I grew up in Chicago during the golden years of the Chicago Bulls, but it has been rough. It has been rough being a Bulls fan. What are they doing? I just so you know what? I'm all in on the Warriors. I'm here for it, and it's a joy covering this team. So you always want them to do well. So hey,
Absolutely.
now I'm not a hater covering the team, Cy. All right.
No, I'm not saying that. But I feel like just emotionally, maybe I'm a little more connected.
Yes,
Maybe not.
you grew up and were raised as a
I did.
fan. That there's another level of connection, and I love that, and I respect that, and that's why I bring a different perspective.
Absolutely. Yeah. When this team loses, I'm grumpy. I wish I could control that. But that's how it goes. So, and again, a few people in the chat mentioning Corey Joseph not playing tonight. That's a win by itself. I'd like to see Brandon Pajemski at some point, but look, a win's a win. This was an awesome game. We're back at this Sunday night. Warriors and Rockets on the road. So we'll see you then. Kylen, thank you as always. Thank you everyone for a great chat, for a great session. The Warriors are 1-1. And I think they're legitimate title contenders, folks. They look good. So we'll be back at this soon. Have a great weekend. Bye-bye. Bye-bye. Bye-bye.
Go Dubs. Huge fan. Huge fan.